know it's not a problem. It's what I don't know. Then I'm like,
Just to make sure, this is the PHP meetup, right?
I mean, you can talk about PHP. I can't promise you anyone else will listen, but
I'm more like a Fortran kind of guy, you know.
there you go.
77 or 90?
77.
All right.
Neither.
My dad was in science. I mean, they're both scientists. They use a lot of Fortran stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, sweet. And then you're using Google Meet. We could have just set up Discord to do that.
I mean, I don't want necessarily like randoms coming in now.
That's true.
So I just have the Google Meet is like just this person.
Yeah.
Hopefully they show up because Jeremy didn't set up the Google Meet in advance. Oh,
That's yeah. That's
I just sent it to them like 20 minutes ago.
losing a lot.
Hopefully they see it. They have not accepted.
Well, if they don't, I don't know. We'll get done early. Jeremy, what's going on?
How's it going? You made it?
How are you?
Did you walk here?
Well, a little bit.
Like a little bit, yeah. Did you park over by O'Brien's and walk up here?
The bus station.
Ah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't know. Parking.
I've been bringing. I forgot to give it to you the one day that you were here, and then you weren't here in December, and then whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
here we are.
Oh,
There it is.
Yeah.
So we make sure that nobody's messaging me.
So we have
This
5 minutes.
person, did she clarify with you? Because like I sent her the meeting, but she hasn't accepted. I hope that.
Oh, let's see. You found her email address on the sign up page, right?
Yeah.
I just hope people looked on Meetup and noticed that we're not at Qualcomm.
I tweeted about it and I
Yeah.
posted it into the Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that we didn't do our part. I'm just saying that I know that some people will be like, oh yeah, it said it's back at Qualcomm, and then like never checked it again.
So Meetup's been like when you delete a Meetup,
Yeah.
it's been coming back. It's like, yeah, it's super
That's
weird. It's happened already
that's not
2
good.
months. Like,
That's not
this,
good.
This is the same bug. It's happened twice. So I don't know. Whatever.
Nina used to work for Meetup. She might. Well, I'm sure she doesn't know anybody that's still there now.
They got acquired by WeWork. Very
Did they?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay,
And
yeah.
now they're in like let's get as much money out of this as possible before we.
Yeah, I noticed that when I RSVP'd to the April 1st meetup and I got hit with like 5 ads to like, hey, do you also want this gym membership? Hey, do you also want like this suntanning membership?
Yes,
No, I'm good. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting we're live now. It's like, oh, people are like, well, what is Jay rambling about?
Pretty sure it was WeWork that acquired them. I remember thinking like, oh, this makes no sense. I wonder if they've sold them off already.
WeWork's back. Or no, they're the ones that went through the whole SoftBank thing.
What do you donate this? That's spicy.
I mean,
The black spicy, right?
Yes, WeWork acquired Meetup. 2017.
do you know if it's
Oh, they sold it off though in 2020 to what looks like a private equity company. Alley Corp. ALLEY.
really quiet?
It is.
How's everyone doing? Good. I'm not presenting this week because everyone
Everyone?
took my threat seriously.
Oh, I banned it.
Are there people outside?
No,
Okay.
there's nobody has texted me. I have the messages for web up.
I think Diane went and grabbed everybody.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, you just came in at the right time then.
I don't think anybody's stuck.
The door's open.
Okay.
Oh, well, okay. Even better. Hey. Hey, good. Better. Yeah. Oh. how to-
Dealing with floods in my house.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how's that going? I know you were digging
Oh.
channels.
Yeah. My house is on the level with this part of the road, but then it goes down like this, and there's a basement underneath, but then the space in between goes like this.
Oh yeah, you sent me a calendar, but I was like, I know that there was a meet invite thing. It's only good for an hour though, right? Probably.
They're the first person.
Oh hey, look, there's my calendar. I probably shouldn't be.
They're the first presenter, so hopefully they are.
I'm surprised you have them duct taped to the end.
Oh wait, if I change my screen, is that gonna mess you up? No. Okay. So I think right now it's.
We're gonna be totally good.
It's really hard to get under there.
I think.
I've already got
I was like, we say that.
and
We
then-
say that.
full of mud.
Hopefully that person
I'll
accepts
be
that.
busy this weekend.
It's going, but it's hard to complain about it, but it is a pain.
I know.
Okay.
After intros, can I task you with locking the door? Are you locking the door? We're not supposed to leave the door unlocked like.
When are we starting?
No, like 5 minutes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm in the call
Is
before.
that person in the meeting?
Oh
Do
no.
you want me to go lock the front door?
No, let's just. The front door has a sign on it that says "Go to the back door," and then the back door.
If it's locked.
Yeah.
It's not locked.
Oh, well.
By the way,
Oh.
I don't know if it'll just let me jump in. Oh yeah, no, it will. Okay, cool.
It should. You're on the meetup.
Yeah.
Meeting.
I know sometimes it'll like wait until people are available.
You have the Google Doc up, right? That's the thing that I'm gonna need first,
Let me just do
which
this.
is that has the intros.
I've got everything in.
Hopefully the remote presenter.
Yeah. Sure, so. Well, there's 7:15, so
Yeah. Okay.
that's
Yeah,
that might be what she was asking about the.
Got it. She's in the Bay
I'd say
Area.
she. I don't know.
The picture is.
Oh, she. I can't tell. The name
And,
is-
and I searched for her on LinkedIn. I wasn't sure either, but now I'm sure. Anyway, in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So it's not a time zone thing.
I don't think so.
We're good.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna need that. Usually I flip it for the presentation.
Oh, we'll do that after.
Yeah. Here.
That way they can see.
Exactly.
Do you have a block on your camera? No, you don't.
Nope.
Bold.
So you don't do anything anyway.
Oh, okay. I don't need
Fancy
that. I'm not,
takes.
it's not that one. It's
I know.
I'll let you.
I think I accidentally just closed out of it.
Got it. We'll get started in like 2 minutes. We're just brutal.
Take your time. Take your time. I made it here to this one. So
You're like, I'm here. That's all that matters.
everything
Oh,
that's
it's
been
really
going
nice.
on.
Okay.
I'm glad I'm finally here.
Oh, maybe when
I gotta switch it. I think the live stream started, and then we just get started with intros.
I think that's fine.
And the giveaway over there.
Yeah.
All right. I only picked 5 winners, so hopefully one of them are.
If not, we're gonna ask people to do a live coding interview.
See if this just comes up. And
Hey,
Give
give
me
me
one
don't give away my.
Give me one example where a linked list is actually. Oh, sorry.
Let's.
Don't give too much away.
welcome. Thank you for coming. You're in the right place for San Diego Python. I guess the first thing that I wanted to do, maybe I'll do this one at the end. Actually, I was going to thank Ansir, but maybe I'll let a couple stragglers come in or something like that, and then we'll do Ansir. I do want to thank Microsoft for sponsoring the food and refreshments. So that's been super awesome. They've been fantastic for the meetup. And I want to thank Diane and Jeremy, my co-organizers, as well as Jay, but especially Diane and Jeremy, who helped wrangle all the speakers. I also want to thank Jay, wrangled the food,
Jeremy,
I see how it is.
but you know.
you don't need to mention me anymore.
Okay, I won't mention. Diane did nothing. Jeremy did everything. Jay got the food.
There's Microsoft news that is.
Do you want to
Yeah, let me
come
do
up and
that.
give a blurb about it? I mean, they
Yeah.
sponsor the meetup. You should do a blurb.
I feel like I get at least 30 seconds.
You get a blurb.
Okay, so yeah, hi, I'm Jay. I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft. You said that already. We've got a couple of things that I do want people to know about. A ton of content around deploying things like container applications. So if you've got a Django application, it's in Docker. It's got Postgres stuff. I'm gonna have nightmares about that for the rest of my life because I've been like building all of this from scratch for the last couple of weeks. But if you're a pro at that and you want to learn how to do that with Azure, cool. If you don't want to use Docker and things like that, but you still want to take advantage of things like Python 3.11, which are super fast and not a lot of cloud providers use, you can do that on Azure. We're the first to come out the gate with 3.11 support. And also, if you're going to be at PyCon, come say hi to me. I'm running the booth, and it's going to be a blast. But also, non-Microsoft related, we are currently doing a game jam right now. I think it's a month long. There, I don't believe is any prompt. I think it's just build something with Pygame, have fun. It doesn't have to live on Azure. It doesn't have to be Microsoft related. We just wanted to create an excuse for people to get out there and just build stuff. So if you want to learn more about that, come see me after the thing. I'll give you the links. The only reason I'm not giving them to you now is because I don't know them off the top of my head because I just found out about this. But yeah, cool.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool to have a game thing. Sort of corresponds with Game Developer Conference, which is going on right now in the Bay Area somewhere. San Francisco, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, awesome. People are coming in, so we're good. Couple other announcements. Saturday, 10 a.m. we have a virtual meetup. Check the meetup page for the details. It's not like this. There's not usually like a speaker. It's more of a, well, it's virtual, so it's online, but it's more of a bring your own laptop, bring your own project, you know, sort of work with other people who are building their own project, that kind of a thing. So it's a little different. No, that's just the Saturday meetup. I'll talk about the April 1st one right now.
I don't want to.
The April 1st meetup is a workshop with Mario Munoz, and it's going to be, so I'll post the link into the chat and everything like that. It's also on the meetup page. It's about, it's building HTMX and...
It's deploying HTMX and Tailwind CSS with your fast API application, no NPM required. So if you want to build a completely full stack application with zero JavaScript involvement on your part, it's going to show us how to do it.
You sell this way better than I do, so
Yeah.
awesome.
Usually I say no JavaScript and people are like, ooh.
Ooh, no JavaScript.
Do we need to have our own
Bring your laptop.
API?
No,
Application.
we're bringing he's bringing everything.
All right.
Also, it will not be recorded. It will not be presented virtually. This is a warm up for this workshop being presented at PyCon US. So, if you want to get it for free, you've got to show up. Otherwise, you got to pay the workshop fees for PyCon and then fly to Salt Lake City.
We should bring our computers, right?
Bring your
own
computer.
Yes.
That you need computers, but that's about it. It's April 1st. It's here. The details are on the meetup
Yeah,
page.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. So bright and early.
Should we take-
I have no idea. I'm not going to be here.
This is what we got.
This is what we got.
I mean, there are more tables in this space that I pushed out of the way to
Okay.
fit the people for the
I
meetup.
just was curious.
So I assume that there will be tables, but I won't be here. I'm out of town. Cool. You're in the right place for San Diego Python. Our website is sandiegopython.org. It has links to like past meetups that are recorded, our meetup page. You can get on our Discord server, which has jobs channel and other stuff like that. Has a link to our YouTube channel. All the stuff that you might want is there. And if anybody's company is hiring and you want to give a brief blurb about the role in the company, you should do it in the jobs channel of Discord. That'll be seen by more people. But if you want to do it here, like, please, if anybody's company is hiring, give a brief blurb. Go for it. I see you.
Hiring event for IBM and American Airlines on Monday. that I'm working at.
Hiring event for IBM and American Airlines. Where is it?
At
What-
the Sheraton?
At the Sheraton downtown.
Yes.
All right. I have been to a hiring event there, so I was like, they do hiring events. What's it?
It's really just here.
Okay, is it for developers?
It's for like literally everything.
Okay. All right, for literally everything. Anybody else's company hiring? Want to give a brief blurb? Last call. All right, no worries. Couple upcoming conferences that I just want to shout out. Pi Texas is April 1st and 2nd in Austin. So if you're coming to the thing here on April 1st, you're not going to Pi Texas in Austin on April 1st, presumably. But if you are, I like to highlight the regional meetup or the regional conferences just because, you know, sometimes you're in the area and it's a cool thing to go to. PyCon US, which is like the big North American PyCon conference, that's April 19th to 27th. That includes like the sprints and the tutorials. So like the core of the conference is in the middle of that. And that's in Salt Lake City. Unfortunately, I won't be there. Jay will be there. Some other people will be there. Did anybody go to either Pi Cascades or Pi WebConf like last week or the week before? You want to give a brief like overview of how it was? I missed it, unfortunately. I wanted to go to Pi Cascades, but it didn't work out. No worries. And I will post the link to become a speaker in the meetup or in the Discord channel because I have to be a speaker this month. I am the speaker of last resort, and so when I have to give a talk, that means we didn't get enough people signing up to be a speaker. So please, please, please sign up to be a speaker. It's only 5 to 7 minutes. You'll live. Like everybody has survived who has tried to give a talk. You know, we have a 100% survival rate. No big deal. We're looking at for all skill levels. Like it doesn't matter. You want to talk about the problems you ran into when you did Introduction to Python? Great. You want to give like an advanced NumPy talk? I would like that too. Anywhere in between, also fine. So please, please, please sign up to be a speaker. What is it? Yes. Yes. You can talk about the process of learning something if you haven't quite finished learning it yet. That is okay.
One of the best talks I've ever heard is why I didn't choose Django was given at DjangoCon. Great talk.
Great talk.
Also, PyData Seattle.
Oh yeah?
is
When's that coming?
The week of it's the day of PyCon Sprint, so the 24th. And obviously that's in Seattle.
Okay. I wrote it into the doc, so I'll get it next month. Although actually
You have to go check the talk.
I did want to mention. I want to thank Ansir Cowork, which is where you are currently. It's a co-working space. They've helped us for like a long time. When San Diego Python was first getting started 10 years ago, you know, we were at the Ansir Innovation Center across the street. You know, it was super awesome. Pelon, do you want to give a brief blurb about it?
Yeah, I mean, you're in the space here. It's a little small. It's not WeWork, but we do have some good people here, and it's fun to get out. If you work from home, it's nice to just get away from the loud dogs or cats or maybe family. You know, it's okay to do that, so you can focus on your work. I do have the Python 50 if you want half off. You don't have to be here full time either. You can be here for like less than 10 days and just spend. So, love to have you. Also have just a quick announcement. March Mingle is coming up. You probably saw that in the meetup announcement. Thank you very much for doing that. We get together once a year, and this year it's going to be at Balboa Park and at the El Prado Grand Ballroom. So it's a really nice venue. We get about 500 people. It sells out. So historically, so you know, get your tickets sooner than later, and it's going to be a really fun event. It's just networking. We're going to have paella from the El Prado and piñatas. We'll have vegan food. Like protein as well. There is alcohol as well. So it's just a fun event and kind of an event that everybody talks about through the rest of the year. So, and I do have one request. I know you have the little job board, the big job board. Is anybody here? You know how to connect like a stock ticker to like high charts? I would love to talk to you. I have a project, just a little side project. So let me know, or raise your hand and I'll find you later. So no, okay. Right.
I'm sure I could figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people could figure it out.
I know. But I need to say it, so. All right, thank you.
Yeah, so March Mingle is a fantastic event. It's always really big every year. It hasn't happened for I don't think it happened last year.
We did it last year.
Did it last year? But it was canceled during the pandemic at least one of the years.
We were, that was really, really fun. We had it set for like March 24th of 2020.
No.
And we're like, okay, can we do it? I think we can do it. I think, oh, no. Got to cancel it. So 2 years later, canceled, postponed, and finally had it last year.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great event. So awesome. Yeah,
That's the whole point.
I think that's part of the point. Yeah, it's not like a 100% focused on jobs, but that is part of it. Yeah, it's a good event. Oh, something happened here. I like alt tabbed into something else. Okay, nope, we're good. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, and this is the last thing that I'll do before this is, I'm going to promote one more sponsor and do a giveaway. I just wanted to talk about JFrog, who's been a fantastic sponsor of us. They have a DevOps platform for continuous releases. Basically, if you need a PyPI inside your company firewall, that is one of the things that their product does. So, if you work for a company where you need that kind of a thing, they have the product for that. It's called Artifactory. They've been a great sponsor of San Diego Python. They sent us giveaways like in February 2020 to give away at our in-person meetups, which were not in person for like 2 years. So, but I have a giveaway to give away today. I've drawn a winner. This is an Adafruit PyPortal. It's a CircuitPython powered programmable display. I'm going to fun pressure whoever wins it to try to give a lightning talk on it because I have no idea how these work. I didn't take one for myself. So, I want to see a lightning talk on this. So fun pressure if you're the winner. I drew 5 winners in order, and I just did it based on the Meetup RSVPs. So Chris Wu, are you here? No? Thomas Draper, are you here? You are the winner.
Yay.
Congratulations.
There you are. I'd be happy to give a talk on.
I would love to hear your talk on it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Already done other pie.
That's great.
And I think we haven't, I think our remote presenter is not here yet. So Jeremy, do you want to go first? And you will talk about algorithms for interviews, part 1. You don't need to put this on, just leave it right there. You have HDMI or
Yes.
USB-C?
HDMI.
Okay. So you should be able to just do it. And then I'll move Jay's laptop out
Can you
of the
just
way.
grab it? You don't play it.
I'm going to scoot behind you, actually, because it's super awkward over there.
Ooh, yes. Change. Okay.
And I should be able to swap this thing. Yeah, you're coming up great. You're up there.
All right, sweet. All right, so I'm going to be talking about algorithms for interviews, mainly more about the interviews. Let's see, I've been on both sides of them for, let's see, maybe 50 or more interviews. So let's see, if you were, I've been doing programming for about 10 years. I did systems administration before that. My name is Jeremy Langley. I've been programming Python the entire time that I've been a programmer. So all of this is very Python specific. So let's see, take that with a grain of salt. I've done programming interviews for things like data pipelines for AWS and some data science positions. I'm getting into web work, which is, let's see, it seems backwards if you. Anyway, what are the kind of things that they look for in junior engineers? And let's see, junior engineers being, yeah, my,
That's the universal.
Yeah.
I don't want to bother you, but it's kind of small.
all right. So you need to know things like arrays, linked lists, stacks, queues, trees, and graphs. We're going to be talking more about graphs today. So let's see, some things you need to be familiar with if you've had a computer science background is big O notation. How long does this thing take to run? If you're going to run something on an entire list, does it take just n? Do you run through the list? Or do you need to do something with every element? It would maybe take n squared, something along those lines, as well as memory trade-offs. If you do it this way, it is sequential and maybe fast. If you do it this way, it's a dynamic programming type of thing. So senior engineers, the difference being that they'll need to know how to build these algorithms. So solve the complex tasks with these algorithms, and let's see, using things like balancing, recursion, and dynamic programming.
What's the recursion limit?
1,000. by
There it is.
default.
I've run into it.
Let's see. Yes, but you can change it. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's not. You don't want to do that.
Nobody's or that I've come across has actually changed it. So, the using correct data structure libraries. There are things that are outside of the normal pandas, normal. Yeah, now I'm thinking ahead. And let's see the normal Python libraries. So there are things that are in the core standard, but things like pandas. Pandas is roughly spreadsheets or data frames for Python. And we're going to be talking about another one, which is called NetworkX. And this has to do with building graphs. Now, I had this, let's see, created a link to us with nodes. This was given to me as a piece of paper slid across a desk where I got the task of being able to create this. And I was like, okay, this is very vague. So I ended up using something called NetworkX. I'm going to save everybody the time on typing because I've got 5 minutes. So with NetworkX, you can create graphs. You can create directed graphs. You can create multi-graphs and multi-digraphs. So those are the 4 kinds. The graphs are things like how you would build something like Facebook. If both of you agree to be friends, or both people agree to be friends, both of which are nodes, and then there's an edge between them. So Twitter, you can make a Twitter-like clone with NetworkX using a digraph. Digraph means it's a directed edges. So you can follow somebody else, but they don't necessarily have to follow you. So that's the direction. You can have multi-digraph. You can say, this person is my friend. This person is also my parent. This other person is also, something like that. That's a directed edges. Let's see, where you can have multi-regular graphs as well. But let's see, this solution did not thrill the person, the senior engineer I was interviewing with. Senior engineer was at a large company here in San Diego. Let's see, I wanted to find out whether or not they would trust my solution. I picked an abstraction level higher than what they wanted. They wanted me to build it with classes and nodes and that type of things. Now, I built a linked list with nodes. Now, where do you see linked lists in life? You'll hear about the blockchain. Let's see, that's the only useful one that I've heard of lately. So, anyway, so we heard a comment earlier. When do you use linked lists in life? So, anyway, so the next thing that he asked me to do was to reverse all of those nodes. So NetworkX has a great function. You could take the entire graph and reverse all of the nodes. So now they had an hour planned for this particular interview, and I've just finished it in less than 10 minutes with something like 6 lines. You can move the plot and show down a little bit. So anyway, so now what? Anyway, so he's like, why don't you create that using the nodes and edges, or let's see, nodes and edges method? And so then I said, I looked at my paper again with the answer. Let's see, create a link to us with nodes. I'm just like, no, we're done. Take a look at the clock. We're ready to go on to other things, be profitable. Let's see, with our time, and he was just trying to stall for time. So it's not about that. What I was wondering is if he would trust me to be able to build a solution and pick whatever abstraction level that I needed to be able to do it. We didn't have any, let's see, I didn't have anything on the piece of paper that said, hey, go longer. We need this for speed. We need this for scalability. None of that. just create a linked list with nodes. Like, okay, we're done. And so he was none too thrilled with that. He didn't like the solution. I did not get hired at that one, and it's one of the best bullet dodges I've ever had. So,
Okay.
yeah. Let's see. Found out what the group was like afterwards. Found out what people, I was able to save the names of people and look them up afterwards and that kind of thing. So, yeah. Notice I never mentioned names with any of these people, with any companies that I'm working with. So, anyway, make sure the interview should feel two-sided. It is a relationship that you are building. You are trying to figure out how to solve these problems and also be likable at the same time. The person is trying to figure out, okay, how does this person under pressure, do I like them? So make sure that you remember that to have a good time with the person. And after you get finished, now, let's see, early in my career, I would have picked the nodes and edges, let's see, hey, build a class with low level stuff. And let's see, so I'm going to try this. Let's see, now I would probably use this method for writing this. Now notice I didn't type all of that. That was because of GitHub Copilot. And these are becoming more and more popular nowadays. Now, so how does that change the programming interview? Just like a calculator, you're going to need to know how to ask for these things. Let's see, linked lists with nodes. I'm going to need to know how to build the node structure, maybe to start off with, but then I can let the computer be able to handle the very probabilistic layout. So class linked list. And what you're going to get is an answer built by many programmers who have done this particular task before. So they're not going to understand the intention behind what you're going to do with this, but you can make sure to ask for the pieces from the genie. Make sure to ask good questions. Anyway, so I'm going to leave the rest. Let's see. I'm going to run out of 7 minutes here, but let's see. Any questions?
It's
Yeah.
not related to it because pretty soon you won't be any good programmers left because you just copy paste. Different. Have you used Polar? The one that's built in Rust?
No.
No. Serious?
Nope. Let's see. Yeah. Go for it.
Just to comment on Copilot as well. Also, bias, Microsoft employee here.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So one of the things with Copilot is that it works better, more accurately as code to. So the more code you write, the more you can rely on Copilot to want to use. Whereas if you do this, and also just the interviewing tip, ask about tools like Copilot to get an idea of their stance on it, because obviously not every company wants to use Copilot. Some companies just IP issues that they have in question that Copilot might be a problem with, but also disable it by default and then ask if it's okay to turn it on. Don't see the answer and be like, "Oh, now I know." But yeah, just kind of two foods for thought there with Copilot is that the more code you give it, the more code that you actually give it, the better it will work for you. Why do you want to link?
Let's see. Most people don't. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. So previous. There we go. Let's make it a double. Yeah. In NetworkX, make an ORM map, and let's see, object relational mapper, and it can make. Let's see, it can make this with all of your classes being a table. You can have links to other tables in there. Let's see, same thing as I've done here. Let's see, instead of having self next is equal to none, you can self next equals to some instance of, or self self foreign key is equal to, and put your link to some other table instance. So, yes, let's see. It will, you'll structure it better than this. You can create edge lists, be able to save those into files that you can be able to pull back later. This is a superstructure on top of many of the algorithms that you will be tested on in these interviews. So this is NetworkX's site. And here is the algorithm section. It is, let's see, if you look through the NetworkX code, it is incredibly well structured and explained very well. So it's got links to papers on archive.org, be able to find out how they were best able to deliver something like centrality scores or clicks. Anyway, take a look at any of the code in here. It's beautiful. I've been a huge fan for several years now. So, we're out of questions. We're going to make the algorithms part and interview questions a thing. So that way, if you're looking to gain new knowledge and a new career path, let other people know.
While we're setting up, what do you do if you don't know the answer or you don't know how to solve the problem? How do you not completely bomb the interview at that point?
My answer is honesty. Let them know I don't know, and it will go a long way to providing confidence in the provided. Yeah. Walk your way through and say, okay, I think this. Come up with some ideas. Don't try to sell it as something like where you're trying to provide.
Didn't rain today. Yeah. Hope you guys are staying safe. Great. Thank you. Let me share my window. For now, I'm just sharing the Chrome browser. Can you guys see this? Okay. Okay. Let me try slide showing this to make it look more like a slide. Hey guys, today I'm gonna be speaking about robotics software library or software package called ROS, and I'm gonna be talking about how we can have Python scripts built on this software package so that we can program robots using just Python. Okay, a little bit about myself. I'm Nish. I'm a senior data engineer at LeanTask, which is a healthcare IT company. It's a pretty noble task. We help patients get discharged, like we predict their discharge uh, based on what message data we get through the system. And in my pastime, I just dabbled into robotics or anything related to Python or data science. So today's agenda, I'm going to be talking about what really ROS is. The acronym ROS, it stands for Robotics Operating System, its fundamentals, installation, and a small demo. So ROS is not an operating system, even though it is called an operating system, but it is like an OS. Why? Because it can be used as a firmware programming library where you are working with different kinds of robotic components, which can be dependent on Python. One can be dependent on some other operating system itself. One software of a robotic component can be on any other server. So it's just like the whole software system, all the modules can be integrated using this software package, software framework. So it's open source. That's pretty good about it. And it has different libraries and packages that can even make your life much easier if you don't want to solve an already solved robotic challenge. Like if you know a robotic component can do computer vision, then you can probably just find someone implementing an open source library on ROS. And it is language agnostic because robotics used to be written in Arduino, which is nothing but C++ under the hood. But why Python? Why do you guys think ROS and Python make an awesome combo? Any shout out there? Can someone guess? Come on, 3, 2, 1. It's okay. Because of AI, a lot of data science and machine learning and deep learning libraries are written in Python. That makes ROS and Python an awesome combo for us to get started and write like good software for robotics. Like you can just get started with any robotics processor. There are a couple of good ones on uh, from NVIDIA and things like that, and you can just like tinker a little bit here and there and make cool robots. Installation. It is a messy one because the community is sort of trying to like get onto from ROS 1 to ROS 2. So we can see in the coming years, more people will be contributing a lot to this software uh, framework, and we can have more updated, what to say, this framework. And for now, what I did was I started. I have a Mac OS, so and I definitely don't use Mojave, which is quite outdated. So I just started with using a virtual box with enough RAM and storage. So typically, this is like the safe space for you to get started. Okay, so I know a lot of words in here, but just remember that it is pretty graphical, that there could be different robotic software for different components written in something called as nodes. And just like all the nodes need to communicate with each other, there has to be a master that controls them, kind of is aware of everyone. And then you should just remember that for these nodes to communicate to each other, we should have a bus, sort of how they speak to each other through a topic. So I would say ignore all of the other words you guys won't remember. So nodes and topic, that's all you guys have to remember for now. So as I was talking about how ROS is graphical in its architecture, meaning different nodes are kind of, uh, they can actually get messages, just like a robot having a sensor. So a robot is waiting for some kind of message from a vision sensor, and then its software is sitting on some other node, so it becomes its subscriber. So how does a publisher and subscriber like communicate? It's through the topic. A topic is just an electronic bus where these messages are flowing. I hope I did not confuse you guys. So moving ahead. So let's talk about a baby demo. So your project, like when we say, oh, I'm gonna be building a robot and I'm gonna be, okay, I got a robot, a built up robot. I'm just gonna write a software that does certain things. So your project in the ROS world is called a workspace. And just how we have so many Python libraries, we called a library in the ROS world a package. It's just a library or a module in ROS project. And how do you make sure that the system, that the server or your computer, in fact, you're writing your code in, you just need to make sure that ROS is kind of alive as a server. The web developers or kind of backend developers have something like their server started on Django and Flask, or like something like you have to kickstart the server to kind of make everything sort of um, like you have built your project and now you have to run it. So for that we use ROS core. So I'm gonna stop sharing and move over to my VirtualBox environment. Give me a minute. I okay, so let me know if you guys are seeing this window now. Okay, let me just okay, let me just share my entire window. Okay. Okay, so okay, can you guys see a Linux environment? Okay. Okay, so a little bit of the explanation of the different terms I was talking about. So if you see, I created this project called Demo 1. So let's dive into it and see what sorts of folders are in here. So based on certain commands, you get like a build folder, a devel folder, and you create a source folder where you can keep your different packages. So your build folder will have the metadata of what kinds of packages are built on this. And through a certain commands, you kind of make this project alive, like okay, things are configured properly. I'm not going to confuse you guys into the details, but remember, you sort of keep the builds in like its build folder. The devel is kind of another sort of metadata about your project. And then let's see what's in the source folder. So in the source folder, I created this demo 1 package. So package stands for like in the ROS world, it's just a library. And I used another like command for it to create it. And while I create this library, I can even specify if it's a Python or a C++ library. So I did that using okay, I can just okay, it will say already exists, but I'm just giving a flavor, like I specify it's a Python library, and I use standard messages to kind of take a basic set of message types like string, integers, in for the robotic components. So it will say it already exists because I just created. Now, if we dive further into the package, I created a scripts folder that has a listener and a subscriber. So listener is the publisher that's publishing the messages. This is like a baby demo, and there is a listener that is subscribing to this a stream of data that's coming. So let's see. So what happens when I try to run this command? I'm sort of like trying one of the uh, demo component here, which is called the talker. So it says master is not awake yet. So remember what I had said, that you have to kind of kickstart the server. So now if I kickstart the server using ROS core, now ROS master is alive. The node is kind of alive. Noetic is like the package manager, how we have pip in Python. For ROS, there are like different communities sort of building different versions of package management. I have used Noetic. And once I started ROS core server, the talker started sending some data. So it's a basic script from the tutorials that is just publishing the time as it is. And if I kind of call the listener, let me stop this talker for a while here. Yeah. And let me call the listener. if you see, the listener is not listening anything yet, but if I start the talker again, you will see the listener is getting the message. So one Python script is a node, and another Python script called the talker is another node that is now able to talk to each other. So let's see what kind of nodes I have here. What happened? Yep. Okay. ROS node should work. What if I use -a here? Oh, ROS node list, as simple as it gets. So the two nodes I created, one was a listener. It's been assigned an identifier, which is like its own default numeric thing. And since I stopped the talker, you can see the node right now. What happened to the listener? The listener has stopped listening. And if I see what kind of packages you can have on ROS, pre-built ones, especially those ones. So ROSPAC list names can show you that you have all kind of mathematics, robotic like libraries that could be very useful for someone developing various kind of, tools out of, not tools, like if you see ROS graph, or I kind of liked what was, controllers for different like kinematics that you can have in robotics. So these are all pre-built. No more you have to Google through and write your script and make it homegrown. It's all like now people are aware you can just use these pre-built libraries. So I'll stop sharing again. Okay, so that's pretty much my demo. I think I can go back to. Sorry, I went overboard. It's my first time here. Yeah, so the summary is try with installing ROS somehow. I mean, it's pretty detailed on uh, the ROS wiki page, but don't forget to go the right way, because if you start with macOS right away with any version which is like pretty latest, you'll be like, what the hell, it doesn't work. So I would suggest try something on Ubuntu, or if you are on Windows, try something on Windows. Yeah. All right, and good luck. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. I did not create it. I just like I gave my like what to say, the source links right in the slide. I did not create it myself. Yes, yes. So I mean, yeah, I have seen like even myself getting some kind of a robotic arm and just get started with uh, pushing my machine learning like kind of module on it, and try seeing what kind of, like I just placed a vision sensor. My robot could not move much because I'm not a kinematics developer, but I could see the sensor taking that information and talking on this ROS server. So all sorts of robotic, what to say, like quadcopter or any kind of as simple as object detector, you can just get started with ROS. You need to have a processor on it to kind of load your ROS server onto it. Sorry. Uh, maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't tried to combine Raspberry but Raspberry is a processor of its own, right? So it might as well work. Yeah. I remember using Arduino a lot with Raspberry. Yeah, those were the good old days where in my undergrad I would just write something on the Arduino little ID and kind of see what's getting logged. But with ROS, now people can even have Jupyter notebooks built into it, and you can do all sorts of AI stuff with your robots. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Good. He's going to be presenting on command line apps in Python. Also, if you don't want to hear me or David ever give a talk again, submit a talk.
Yes. If you never want to hear me give a talk again, make sure that the speaker pipeline is robust, and then we won't have this issue. Because all my devices are used streaming the meetup. I have my notes here so that I can give this talk, which I think I first gave at this meetup about 5 years ago, and I've sort of updated it. You know, there was some stuff in here that was like, oh, you know, if you're doing Python 2 and Python 3, yeah, none of that is in here now. I removed it all. Everybody's doing Python 3 now, right? So you know, this is actually a talk that I like. It's kind of near and dear to my heart. I love command line apps. I think they're really important. And the first question that I get asked is like, why would you ever build one of these? You know, why would I ever build a command line app? And you know, maybe it's because I have Linux on my computer. You know, I use command line apps every day. You know, they're much faster to develop. You can develop a command line app in a fraction of the time that it would take you to spin up a GUI app or a web app or something like that. And the user interface doesn't sort of restrict what somebody can do with it. So it's easier to combine with other apps. You know, in a mobile app or a desktop app, like it's hard to take the output of this and then put it into another program. In a command, you can't sort of foresee all the ways that somebody might use your app. Whereas with a command line app, like you don't have to. You can pipe the output of one into another one. You can do all sorts of things. So you don't have to worry about that. And you know, sort of instead of building a monolith where your app has to handle all these different use cases that you might have, you can have sort of these command line apps which are, you know, in some ways composable. Pipe the output of this into some other program that you don't have to maintain to transform the output into, you know, something else. Anyway, there's lots of ways for a command line app to take input, and this flexibility is what makes command line apps powerful. So I'm gonna talk about a little bit of the ways that inputs and outputs sort of like come in and go out, I suppose. So I guess this sort of answered my question. There's lots of ways that they handle inputs and outputs. This diagram, which I borrowed from like a talk from about 10 years ago, has a bunch of these like different ways that command line apps like take inputs and outputs. You know, some of these you think about them like arguments and options, which are sort of like a subclass of arguments. There's maybe they can read a config file. Maybe they read from standard in, which is like if we're piping the output of one program into another one. There's signals, which, you know, Python, you almost never use these, but like you could, you know, if you're building like a daemon program, like a web server in Python or something, you absolutely use signals. You know, command line apps use signals if they're supposed to run for long periods of time and you need to somehow send a message to a running process. So there's all sorts of different ways. I'm not going to go into a bunch of details on signals because they're complicated, other than to mention that there is a built into the standard library module for sending signals to running processes. So like if you have a web server and you need to tell it, hey, shut down gracefully, or hey, reread the configuration file. These are usually like signals that you might send to an already running process. I am going to talk a little bit about like the different libraries of Python, and that is super small. Apologize, but and there's probably not a good way for me to make this a lot bigger either. Oh yeah, I could probably pinch zoom it. Does that work? Totally not. Oh, magic did happen, but now I can't.
2 fingers.
2 fingers? Good. All right. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. I used to own a Mac. Oh man, it's way better with 2 fingers. Okay. Hey, pretty good. That's pretty good.
Thank you for your assistance. Yeah. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is argparse. I like this one because it is built into the standard library. That is the reason to use argparse probably. But it has all the main features that you'd want when you're handling like a command line app. So it handles options and arguments. So options are the things where you're like dash this or dash dash, some option that I'm passing to my program. It handles arguments, which are like, when you're copying a file and you say like cp the source file to the destination file. Source file and destination file are arguments. So they're sort of like options are a subclass of arguments, but arguments are usually like required to the program, and options are optional, as you might expect. But I wanted to talk about all these and how like it could handle a very complex command line app if you wanted it to. Like if you think of a complex command line app that you probably use, like Git, where it has this whole concept of subcommands, and then those subcommands have options, those subcommands have arguments, and they're totally different. Git inits arguments are totally separate from Git statuses arguments, and so on and so forth. Argparse, while complicated, maybe not the best interface, could absolutely write a program. Like you could write a program like Git, or at least the command line option parsing part of it, in argparse. So and it's built into the standard library, so you don't need to bundle any sort of like external library or anything like that. This is just a small example that sort of just shows a little bit how it automatically creates like a help argument for you and shows how to print out the version. Yeah, so it's not super complicated here, but like the tutorial actually in the standard library, like there's a how-to on argparse in addition to like the reference docs, and it's pretty good. I'm going to talk about though the next one. Hopefully I can just go to the next slide and do the same thing. Oh, and hopefully the magic happens. Oh, it did, more or less. This is a library not built into the standard library. It's called Click. It comes from the Palettes project people, so that's the same people who do Flask, the web framework, if you're familiar with that. They do some other stuff too. But it's a command line parsing and options library. It has a ton more options than argparse, but it's not built into the standard library. So, you'd have to bundle an external thing if you want to use Click, which is fine in some cases, but some cases you just want something that you can hand somebody one script with no requirements and they can just take it. But if you're building something where you're going to have a significant, like lots of command line options, maybe some subcommands, stuff like that, you probably want to use something like Click. It has a bunch of other like features that you might want built in, stuff like progress bars and things like that. So it's really cool. Let's see, I mentioned that it was a third party. So I talked about that it comes from the Palettes team. I would like, this is an equivalent program here in Click to exactly the one that I showed on the previous screen in argparse. So these are the same. You can see that it uses sort of like decorators instead of, I guess it's a different way of being declarative, but you see it uses decorators instead of whatever, just method calls. Cool. I'm going to get to the next screen and hopefully, yeah. This is a more complicated example in Click. But this is like a case where you're like doing subcommands and you're even like reading subcommands from files. So maybe you have a command line app that has like a plugins folder or something like this to add additional commands to your command line app. Command line apps can get massively sophisticated if you let them. But Click, I feel, is a little bit better than argparse at accommodating all of those like random features that you might want. It has a ton more features than argparse. I would say it's almost like a framework for building a command line app, if that's a thing, for a sufficiently complicated command line app, maybe you do want a framework. Like you have a framework for your website or so. That's just what I wanted to talk about. I sort of highlighted these. There are a bunch more options. There's even more in addition to argparse in the standard library. I just talked about argparse because it's the easiest probably to get started with and the most modern of the ones in the standard library. Click is actually built on top of like a different one in the standard library, an older library that's like much older than argparse. Argparse, I think, was in Python 2.6. There was an older library before that. But awesome. That's sort of that's If I can go to the next slide. Yeah. All right. That's it for the talk pretty much. I do have some resources. I have like a longer version of this talk on my website, which was like the last blog that I wrote in like 2017. It's been a long time. The reason why is I couldn't find good resources on building like a more complicated command line interface in Python. Like there were resources, there's the argparse tutorial and it's great, and the argparse reference and Click's references and Click's tutorials are fantastic. So lots of good stuff on this. But the whole like maybe explanatory version of this of why is it important to have different things, I felt like that was missing. So this talk was sort of like a shorter version of that post. Argparse tutorial is pretty good. Like if you're just, hey, I have this command line app, maybe it's gotten a little too big to just read sys.argsv. The argparse tutorial will be fantastic. That'll get you started if you're just like, I need to handle one argument and a couple options or read a file or something. The argparse tutorial will do it. The Clicks documentation will be a deep dive into like a whole framework. Awesome. Jay, I have no way to take questions from the audience because my laptop's over there. These are some future topics, but I guess I'll open it up for questions if anybody has any questions. No questions on the live stream. Jay, ask your question.
A lot of things. What's the how Python run something writing a shell? I understand the easy part. I also writing shell scripts.
There is a performance hit, but it probably will not matter. Shelling out from Python into another program to do something, like you would rather not do it if you can avoid it. But effective, it's probably not going to matter. And also, that performance hit might be gained because the program that you're calling out to is more optimized than the Python implementation of it itself. So, for example, like, you needed to print a tree of all the files shelling out to the standard core utils program tree. Actually, it's not in the GNU. But anyway, the program tree, if you were to shell out to that program, it's probably going to be much faster than doing like an os.walk. Boy, I don't even know why you would. Well, I mean, yeah, I think Click might have a way to handle that, but I mean, you're probably just falling back into like the multiprocessing library. I see another question.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Like 30. Very hard to. Anyway.
They're secure because nobody understands. So.
Well, but that's a
Sure. Yeah, that's very true. So you have like the OS or the subprocess module has ways to securely pass even like potentially untrusted input into like a system call. That is true.
and read it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Could just wrap the meetup up. Go for it. Awesome. Cool. I don't think I have one, but like literally anytime I'm doing something with argparse, I'm pulling up the argparse tutorial. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. One last question. Go for it. Got it. Click does do that. Although probably a lot of that would be like in the shell configuration. Probably have like a bash. But I know some of these libraries optionally support like for example, if I want to type git st instead of git status, like they can say, oh, you meant this because we recognize the first two characters and they don't collide with any automatic make that work. But from a tab completion perspective in your shell, that's probably a shell completion. Awesome. I think that's it. Cool. So I just wanted to, I think that pretty much wraps up the meetup. I was the last speaker, which is convenient, I guess, to jump right into the outro. But from a outro perspective, I just want to thank like our speakers for speaking, thank the other organizers, and I want to thank our sponsors, Ansir and Microsoft for the food, and JFrog for the giveaway. Thank you for coming. All right. Couldn't remember if I switched. No, I did. I just didn't have my video. That's okay. Yeah, I don't know why it did. I think the screen. Oh. Yeah. Screen was.
How are you
Yeah, we'll just put them over there.
Hey, good to see you.
The stream and